Odds are, if you come here and you're watching this video, you have experience with firearms and know how to effectively handle one. However, if you don't, please be careful when handling all firearms and always follow the rules of gun safety. I don't know where you live, so always adhere to local and federal laws first. If you don't know them, find out. Be safe, be smart. One mistake could cause you or someone that you know serious injury or worse. Don't be an idiot. Now, let's get into the video. What's going on, guys? G2 here, and welcome back to the bench. And today we are going to be talking buffers. Buffers come in a variety of sizes, weights, housings. So we're going to try to go through this and give you as much information as possible to ensure that you have the right buffer in the system that you're running, because it does make a difference. And if you tend to have issues on the range with shooting, you're short stroking, or it's not feeding in the next round, it's a very good chance the problem may be as simple as just changing out your buffer weight. So before we go into the different types of buffers, let's go into what a buffer does. So your buffer is housed here in your stock. Here's your buffer tube. It has a spring behind it. You have your buffer here, and what the buffer does is it creates essentially a buffer between your bolt and the spring. So as the gun cycles, your bolt goes back into your buffer tube and it comes forward. Now, when it goes back, obviously you are ejecting your round, and as it goes forward, it is placing a new round into the chamber to be fired. The weight of your buffer makes a difference into how fast or how slow your bolt carrier moves within your rifle. Now, to take your buffer out, we went through this in a AR disassembly video, which we'll link here. There's a little buffer detent pin right here, a buffer pin. You're going to press that down. There's a small spring underneath of that keeps it under tension. Actually, it's kind of, I guess you can do this with one hand. For some of the other systems, if you're using a larger buffer like this, which is a rifle class buffer, what you want to do is put your trigger down, because when it's up here, it will hit as it's coming out. It makes it a little difficult to come out. So we'll show you the proper way to remove a buffer. Is you press down the hammer, you hold the trigger. You're basically holding this in a reset position to when you would let go of the trigger, your trigger hammer would come up a little bit, and that little bit is a lot of clearance. So we're going to put this in here, we're going to press down our detent, we're going to release our buffer and our spring, and our buffer comes out, and then we'll release our trigger, and that stuff will get out of the way. So we're going to put this guy off to the side for now, and we're going to talk buffers. All look the same, but believe me, they are wildly different from one to the next. To example here, we're going to go in weights. Buffers, you're talking, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 different weights of buffers that range anywhere from 3 ounces all the way up to, I guess, 8.5 ounces. Depending on what kind of rifle you're using, whether you're using a carbine, whether you're using a rifle length, whether you're using a pistol, the buffer changes everything. Whether you're shooting suppressed, it all makes a difference, because we're talking about cycling, and cycling is essentially how long that bolt takes to go back and forward in enough time for your round to eject and set in a new round. If it's too fast, you may get what's called a short stroke. So there's not enough time. It's too quick to eject and put in the new round. If it's too slow, it could mean that your bolt is moving too slow back and it doesn't go all the way back. So if you're using a really heavy buffer, there's too much weight. The gas is not equal to the weight going back, which means your bolt is not going to go back all the way. So you'll get kind of like one of those caught ejections, or it won't go back far enough to put in your next round. So buffer weight is really, really important if you're having ejection issues or feeding issues. Check your buffers first before you go crazy on your weapons. All right, so let's go into the different kinds of weights we have and the classes of buffers we have. So this here is a 3.8 ounce buffer. Let's find our, here's our, so this right here is a 3 ounce buffer. These are what typically come in your standard carbine rifle. So when you buy your rifle off the shelf, it is 99.9% of the time going to have a 3 ounce, give or take a tenth of an ounce, 2.9, 3.1 ounce buffer inside of your carbine class rifle. Now we can go up one step here. This is what's called an H buffer. Now this one comes in a little heavier at 3.8 ounces. And then we have here what's called an H2 buffer, which is going to come in a little bit heavier at 4.4 ounces. And then we have another H2 here as well that's going to come in at 4.4 ounces. Now they're typically marked here, so you can see the H buffer has an H on it. The H2 has a 2 designation. This is just Gun Tech is the one person that made this buffer, so it's a Gun Tech 2, but essentially an H2. You will also have an H3 that is one step up from this, even heavier of a buffer. Now we also have a rifle length buffer or rifle class buffer. These typically come in anywhere from 4.9 to 5.1 ounces, depending on some of the material they use in them and whatnot. Now these are solely designed for rifle class ARs only. And what I mean by rifle class is this. So if you have a long stock on here, a fixed stock, a A2 style stock, you are going to only use a rifle style buffer. Meaning, the reason is this buffer, you want to have at least half of the stock available for allow the buffer to move. This is the perfect length and is the optimum buffer you should be using for a rifle or a buttstock of this length. You use the shorter one, it'll work, maybe. If you have a really heavy one, it'll work. If you have a light one, what you're going to find is this thing's going to go real quick and you're not going to be able to load that next round in efficiently. So with that being said, rifle class only on the rifle style buttstock. Now, I'm going to really make sure that I'm clear on this because I don't want anyone to get injured. I don't want you to ruin your weapon. Do not ever, under any circumstances, use a long rifle class buffer in a collapsible stock. Let's see if we can take this buttstock off here without pinching my fingers off. Okay. Look, it's going to realistically sit here. So first off, it won't fit. Well, no, it will fit because the spring will come up to this part here. It's going to be really tight. And if you try to shoot this is going to slam back into here with enough force to where it will crack right here on your receiver. And it'll shear this guy right off. And let's not forget, this part is pointed at your shoulder. It's a very good chance it could blow out the back of your buffer tube and cause you serious injury. So under no circumstances do you ever use a rifle class buffer in a collapsible stock. Just don't do it. It's unsafe, and you're going to cause injury to yourself, and you are definitely going to cause injury and ruin your weapon system, and that is not good for anybody. Okay, so we're going to take that guy out of the way. So now we've talked about that. Done. Now, buffers come, like I said, in a variety of weights and materials that are used. Now we're going to open up one here to show you just exactly what makes a buffer work. Okay, so now we're going to open up the buffer here. All you need is a pin, a punch, a roll punch right here. Okay, can we see that? And you are going to use it onto, every buffer has a roll pin. You can see every single buffer has a roll pin area. And what we're simply going to do is we're going to get our punch. We're going to put our buffer on a hard surface so we don't, and we're just going to take that punch or that pin right out. Okay? Here's our pin. Put the punch. We're going to take the back part of our buffer here, this plastic piece, out, and you're going to see inside we have 3 weights, and we also have 3 little rubber pads. Now what these pads do, obviously, is to keep these from banging against each other, and it keeps the back weight from banging into the back of your metal buffer. The plunger here acts as your back kind of cushion for that, so you don't need 4. Now these weights here, these are steel. You can get them in aluminum, you can get them in tungsten, you can get them in steel, you can get them in the specific weight that you want. So if you go on your favorite website, whatever it is, you'll be able to buy a weight set, a buffer weight set for H2 or H3 or pistol length. So if you're using a pistol, you're going to need an even heavier buffer than would typically be running in H3 because the barrel is so short. There's not as much, there's even more gas, coming through, so you're going to need a lot more weight in the back to handle all of that gas that's coming back to allow your bolt to run slower. If you used a very light buffer in a pistol, that thing would slam back and forward and it would never run. You'd think that you'd messed it up, the build, you think that the gun is wrong, when in fact it's really just you have too light of a buffer. Now, once you get all of this, you get the set that you want. You can, putting it back or replacing it is just as easy as putting in your first cushion pad. Make sure that it's sitting in there properly because it won't assemble correctly. And then we're going to put our first weight. We're going to put our second pad here, our second weight, our final pad, and then our third weight. And then we're going to finally finish this off here with our plunger. We're going to line it up, and we're going to find the thin side of our roll pin, and we're just going to simply drive this guy back home. And there we go. And you would have successfully changed the weight of your buffer to whatever it is you were going for. It's as simple as that. Now, my suggestion, your gun will come, like I said, if you bought a recoil kit or whatever, it's most likely going to come with your standard 3-ounce buffer. I suggest that everyone, whenever you are doing a build, you get a 3-ounce, you get an H, which is a 3.8, and then you also get an H2, which is a 4.4. This will give you the variety of options to change your buffer based on any problems you may see while you're out at the range. Okay, so once you have all 3 of these different options of buffers, your standard, your H, and your H2, you will be able to fix any issues that you may be having in terms of cycling or failure to feeds or short stroking, whatever it may be. So the only range, I'd say that you can get anywhere from $9 all the way up to, you know, $50, $60 if you want a really, really high-end buffer, which in my opinion, I don't know. That's your choice. That's your preference. It's your money. You do what you want. I would suggest having all three of these options in your range bag at all times. In addition, I would get maybe one blank empty buffer, or maybe you just get a cheap one, and then get a couple weight kits. So whether you get yourself a if you know you're going to change it to a pistol, you maybe want to change your lower, make it to a pistol, you're going to have to change your buffer as well. If you're going to go suppressed, you're going to have to change your buffer as well. And then just have one extra with a couple of weight options already set, and then you can just adjust them out and change them as needed. It's not that expensive. It's a really, really easy fix for some issues you may be having while you're firing your weapon. Finally, when you are buying these kits, do not mix and interchange the types of weights that are in your buffer. If your buffer weight kit is all aluminum, use all aluminum. Tungsten, use all tungsten. Don't mix aluminum. Let's say you want to go to a really, really specialized kind of weight, like you have a 3 here, and then you have a 3.8. Let's say you wanted to try it at like a 3.6, and that would mean I got to take 2 steels out of here. Maybe we go 2 steels and a tungsten, or you do some kind of funky little mixing of metals. Don't do that, because they are balanced. Different metals have different densities, so when they're traveling, it will adjust. It will mess with the balance point of your buffer. So don't mix your metals when you're doing it. Try to keep them all the same. There are little tricks you can do if you want to take little bits off. You can sand it down and add another one of those little pads in there to fill the space. There's a bunch of different things you can do, but don't mix your metals. It's just the wrong way to do it. All right, and I think that covers everything. What I'm going to put up right now, and I'm also going to link in the description there, is going to be a chart which basically goes through all the different rifle classes that you would use this for, and the buffer weight that it would take, and also the name of the buffer, so you have it for easy reference to print out. Just so if you're working through and you want to mess around with this, it gives you a good starting point to use as a resource. All right, guys, buffers, extremely, extremely important, often forgotten and neglected. So don't forget to check out your buffers. Make sure you're cleaning your buffers as well when you're field stripping and cleaning your weapon routinely. Until next time, guys, always practice safe gun handling at all times. And remember, guns don't kill people. Stupid people with guns kill people. Be safe. G2 out.